Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Underground Kings podcast. Today I am joined by my guest Javon, founder of Shade Pro Window Tint. Javon, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
So what is it that got you into the window tinting business? You're 24 years old?
Yeah.
You know, at your age, at what point did you start actually?
I started when I was 19 in a sophomore in college in 19. It was out of pure luck. Had nothing to do with like wanting to like tint a car. It was just more of I needed it done. I couldn't afford it on a college budget, so I ended up just practicing, and practicing on my car turned into my whole family's, and then I got a new car, and I got to that point where I was like really good at it, and they were like, "Yo, you should do something with this." And I was like, "I don't know," and then like a few months later, when COVID hit, I started a tinting business. It was mobile, going to people's houses, and then now it's like a full-on thing where I've been successfully running a shop for 2 years.
And you were just talking last time I saw you about bringing on your first employee team member.
Yeah.
More or less. How did that go?
So now I would say I have my little sister as essentially my first employee, where she's kind of like just helping me. Well, she's still learning, so she's learning to like answer the phones, and there's a lot of stuff that she needs to learn about tint before I can actually let her go out on her own in order to like actually sell what she's what I'm doing.
Beautiful. I think that's a cool thing, man. Like, you know, you see a lot of the traditional like family generational businesses, like a lot of that has faded.
Yeah.
And but you see so much success and so much purpose in it when you see people that own and run these family-owned businesses, and especially when they aren't necessarily in love with what it is the business is, but they've been able to work with their family members and kind of just like be a family unit and build towards something.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really cool thing. So as far as the window tinting business is concerned, I got to ask, like what kind of cars did you start out doing, and at what point in starting the business did you end up getting your first car that came in that kind of made you a little nervous?
I think I went like probably like 2.5 years before I got the first car that made me like really nervous. I say the first car I did that actually got paid for was it was like a 1998 Ford. It's a Ford Ranger.
Yep.
1998 Ford Ranger. And like I was fine. Like that didn't make me nervous at all. But it was like 2.5 years ago, maybe like a year and a half ago, when I got a Tesla Model 3 in for the first time. And like, you know, there's a lot of electronics in those cars, and you don't want to mess up. And also the back window is huge. So whenever I got that car, it made me like super nervous. And then that was a car that essentially made me, like after I got that done, I was like very comfortable with a lot of stuff.
Now, when you say that back window, that's like the back window that comes all the way over the top?
All the way, yeah.
So are you tinting even like that roof part of that window?
Yeah, the whole entire thing, dude. It's like, so typically you use like a 40-inch roll, and with that you got to use a 60-inch roll. And instead of shrinking it normally where it's up and down, you're putting it and shrinking it to the sides. So it's like a whole thing where you got to be very precise with everything in order to get that whole thing done.
Damn.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the window tinting business, what about that business model like gives you purpose in what it is that you're doing? Like, where do you derive the purpose from that?
See, the thing is, like, so you know, cars come from the dealer like stock, and like without tint, I feel like it doesn't look it doesn't look great. But then you put tint on it, it's a whole new car, and it changes the look of it and everything. Like my car, that was the first thing I did to my car, and after doing it to my car, I'm like, yo, wow, it changed the whole look of the car, like from the stock look to having tint on the windows. It made a big difference. So like that's as far as the not marketing, as far as the business model with tint. Well, now it brings a huge benefit to not just for the look of the car, but for your health and your skin, stuff like that. So like you take a like long commutes and like long drives to like say from here to Florida, and like you have no tint on your car, you're probably gonna be sunburnt by the time you get there. So like just having tint is essential to not have that to happen. That makes sense. Yeah.
So for window tinting what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you face within that business model?
Some of the biggest challenges would be, I say, actually selling it, because like when tint originally came out, it was just for the looks of it. People wanted a privacy, and now like when you try to sell them on like something like a ceramic, which is gonna essentially block more heat and keep you more protected, people are like, oh yeah, that's not real. But like when a lot of people come into the shop and I show them like the displays and like the actual simulators, they're like, oh wow, that makes a big difference. And you have a lot of people who just price shop. And price shop, yeah, I get that. You have a budget and everything, but sometimes you price shop, you can go to the lowest guy in like a year or year and a half, the tint's purple, bubbling up. But which I'm a big believer in, you want quality, you pay for quality. So that's probably one of the biggest issues I have in order to like keep stuff steady. So and then you also have like quality. You're not gonna get quality from every single person you go to get tint. Like say you have a guy down the street that's selling tint for $99. That is not gonna be a good tint job. And there's a good chance is give it a week, and you're gonna be very upset. Yeah. So
I absolutely agree with that. As far as quality is concerned, it's funny to me to see people always looking to cut corners and cut costs, or save dollars, and they'll end up buying, rather than going with the $500 tent, they'll go with the $150 tent from somebody else and have to buy it 4 times over because it keeps peeling. Yeah. Another thing with spending money on stuff like that, I have a philosophy, and that's when it comes to items within a reasonable range, like more of like your everyday consumer items or things that, you just not necessarily need, but you might want. If you have to constantly worry about saving money on those types of things, your problem isn't that you're not saving enough. Your problem is you ain't making enough. Like, how about taking a look at your job and your income and like taking that to the next level, or like go seek out a job where you make more money and don't have to worry about the $200 difference in the tint on your vehicle. So that makes sense. I absolutely 100% agree with going for quality, hands down. I think you get what you pay for. With some brands, obviously you're paying for the brand. Like if you're knowledgeable though, like you can understand, like there are certain things, like someone, making alterations to your vehicle, like you're talking about an expensive asset that someone is adding to or detracting from. So you really want to be careful, and you want to go the quality route, I think, in every scenario like that. People work on your house, your car, whatever it may be.
And like the thing too with quality, as far as like, so the brand, I don't think the brand necessarily matters the most, because like you have like some of the biggest brands around here. You have like Expel, Lumar, 3M, which 2 out of those 3 are not very great. And like, so I'm personally, I use GeoShield. So I've tried all of those, and GeoShield I think is probably the best film manufacturer I've used. And it's just easy to work with, and it lays. I never have any issues with it, and using it since 2020, never had a single person come back and be like, yeah, this thing is crap. So this is why I choose this. But like, I've worked at other shops where I've subcontracted, and I would say they use one of the bigger name brands, have been around for a longer time, and those those aren't very great film to work with, and it's always have issues with it peeling. So I'm like, okay, it's not it. A lot of people shop based off the brand, and I don't think that's the most effective way to shop when it comes to it. I say go to a reputable shop with a good reputation, and you're gonna be fine.
So I know you just recorded a semi-recent podcast with Declan right here in the same studio, and you were asked a lot of questions about the tinting business and just kind of the ins and outs of your day-to-day life, which I'm sure you know like the back of your hand. Yeah. So I'd like to go a little deeper, go into some other matters. I see that you are quite vigorously training. I see that are you doing personal training, working out of the gym? Like, what's your training regimen? What's your training style at the moment outside of work?
So I'm typically in the gym 5 days a week. So for the last month, I've had a hamstring injury, so I've been doing everything but legs.
Yeah, sure, okay. That's what everybody says.
In high school, I was a soccer player. So as a soccer player, I had soccer every day, so I didn't really go to the gym as much. So I was still in shape. So like with now being 24, out of college, stopped playing semi-pro soccer like a year ago. Now training or being in the gym is my form of fitness and my form of confidence. It just keeps me going. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm always I always want to be active, and being in the gym, that's what it helps me to do.
Very cool. Now, as far as your gym mentality is concerned, like what's kind of that fundamental motivating factor for you, or where the root of your discipline comes from when it comes to going to the gym? Is it to be stronger for a purpose? Is it to, are you striving more for the aesthetic side of things, more towards like the bodybuilding, those sorts of things? Is it for utility in the sports that you choose to play? What's kind of your purpose behind working out in the way that you do?
It's more to keep me be stronger. Like when I was younger, I could barely lift like 95 pounds. Like now it's a whole different thing. And I'm like, it's just like every time I go into the gym and I hit like a new PR, I'm like, I want to keep going. I take pre-workout and I eat a lot. That's it. But like I'm like 170 pounds, and you can never tell. Yep. But I wouldn't say I don't want to get into bodybuilding at all. I just want to be a lot stronger.
So strength training is more
strength training,
what you're focused on. Lower rep ranges, lower numbers of sets, more volume.
Yeah.
You're just moving more weight. Well, I'm curious to know, and I'm sure the audience is too. So what's your 1 rep max on the bench?
245.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive. You got that good stocky build too, like you can definitely do certain lifts or be able to max out certain lifts in a different way than people with different builds. Like for me, I got such a long distance for that bar to travel with different things, man. Sucks. At certain points it sucks, but yeah. there's other lifts, of course, where you get the advantage. So why be stronger? Like what do you feel is the actual real life utility of being stronger?
I feel like just being stronger overall, as far as physically, I feel like it keeps everything around you. It's like all your muscles and your joints. I feel like it just keeps it all together. But as far as it goes for life, that's one thing I haven't thought about.
Like as far as like, I know for myself, I've always gravitated towards, in my younger years, I was kind of, when I first got started lifting, I was probably 15, 16 years old. And I was like heavy in the bodybuilding world, watching Arnold Schwarzenegger on YouTube, like all these guys. And, I was striving for aesthetics purely because I was just like, I was the 6'4", like skinny as a rail kid. And was just sick of being the scrawny kid. Yeah. So for me, it was like I wanted to get bigger, to look bigger, to be more impressive, to attract girls at the end of the day. Like that's why a lot of guys do it. But later on in life, my priorities shifted to strength training and real world utility of it. So I didn't want it. Now I have no interest in being the strongest looking guy in the room.
Yeah.
In fact, I purely want to be just the one that's most capable of dealing with a situation that might arise that involves physical confrontation, period.
Yeah, that's true though. Like, 'cause I don't necessarily want to be the biggest guy. Like, if my friends will tell you, like, I don't want to be the biggest guy, but I just like knowing that I'm stronger and can take on certain situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
'Cause it even transcends. A lot of guys too have that as a similar, like almost like an echo of my mentality, which is I don't want to be the biggest guy necessarily, but I want to be the strongest guy. So those guys are not so much bodybuilding, more strength training, but they want to be the strongest guy in the gym. So when all their 3 buddies get together and they're on 1 rep max bench press day, he might be the smallest out of all of them aesthetically or size wise, but he's repping the heaviest set on the 1 rep max, and that ego gets inflated, or he gets that moment in the spotlight, which is awesome. Like for me, it's more on the side of like that whole show, like all that stuff, like whatever, like outdoing my friends weights wise, like okay, like it's really cool in that moment, and yeah, it gets me amped up, sure, but to me, it's more like okay, I'm at a bar, some guy's being an asshole, he's fucking escalating stuff, I try and diffuse, it doesn't work, it gets physical, and I need to be in a position, in the best position possible to put an end to something like that. Like to be able to, 1, defend myself, and 2, defend other people that I care about.
Yeah, that's true though. I mean, my like I would say out of my Sean probably is the strongest out of all my friends, because Sean, he played football at USC.
Yeah, good man.
And then when it comes to like the rest of the group, I feel like I'm probably the next guy up there, because like nobody else works out as much as we do. So if we were in a situation, I feel like me and Sean would be the guys at the front of the line.
Hell yeah.
And everything. So
shout out Sean, big motherfucker. So how important to you is it? So you said you train with this buddy of yours, Sean. Do you train with anybody else, or is it more?
So I actually train with my buddy Everett, who he actually runs a detailing business. So our shop is literally right next to each other.
Awesome.
And he's probably like 6'3", 185 pounds. And Everett, I'm like, not to call you out, buddy, but in this case, I can actually bench more than him, which like you said, like he's taller, so from the
distance that bar has to travel, you know,
it's a lot different. But like I feel like he's stronger than me, and I just feel like that's just probably the only issue. And like form as well, figuring out how to get the most out of everything. It's a little bit different with him compared to me.
Yep.
And so like I think that's probably why at the moment I can lift a lot more, or not a lot more, but like a little bit more than him. So yeah, but he's the guy I work out with, and we go to Sky Fitness, and we're there. Now it's like 3 days a week. Usually it's 5 days a week with him, but 2 days out of the week I'm there by myself. So because I do a lot of legs. I love doing leg days, but ever since I've gotten stronger with the bench pressing, I've been doing a lot more upper body, like just chest days and stuff like that. Yep. Yeah, because it just feels nice.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, you get that pump in.
It helps so much with your confidence.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've been recently, just this past year alone, I actually finally like took a step into doing the full body routines, and I always was like, man, screw that. Like, what are you getting out of that? Like, to me, I couldn't wrap my head around the science of volume and like understanding muscle fatigue and like a lot of these different things. But the full body, man, it was like, I jumped into it thinking like, oh, it's like taking them easy on your muscles every day. But you get to the end of week 1 and it's like, oh, everything hurts, man. But now that I've really delved into it got a solid year under my belt, I don't know if I'll ever go back to like, I used to do a traditional bro split. I probably did a bro split, or like, you know, your push pull days. Like I did kind of that kind of training style for the better part of like 5 or 6 years. But the strength training, I found more utility in it for what I'm optimizing for. And like I said, it's all about like what you're optimizing for, what you're training for. And for me, the full body has been the best for kind of being a complement to boxing. So I do boxing as well. So it's been a complement to that. And I definitely feel like it's more optimal for training for speed and strength. Yeah. It's like for me, you know, strength only will get me so far if I lose the speed with it. Mm-hmm. Like bodybuilding is a perfect instance of building up size and strength, and you're losing mobility and speed. So, you know, just being able to optimize for, like I said, whatever your real world utility is. Like, don't be, the other thing I tell guys is like, don't feel bad for optimizing your workout routine or having a workout routine that is angled towards whatever it is that you want to succeed in life. If for you, defending yourself in a physical confrontation isn't a concern for you, but getting a girlfriend is, or like impressing the ladies is, then don't feel bad about like training for aesthetics. Like if that's what you want in life, then train for that.
I mean, essentially it does, it gives you a lot more confidence, which confidence is good. It does help with the ladies. But like initially I started out like I got out of like a relationship, coming out of college, or not coming out of like a year after I got out of college. It was like 4 years of my life. So like I was just at a point where I had nothing else to do, and like I was just scared of talking to girls. So like getting in the gym made me a lot more comfortable in like social situations, and I would get a lot of compliments, and I'm like, okay. But like still I was just all to myself. Like it was nice, the attention's nice, but like at the same time I don't really care too much for it. But I just love the fact that I have a lot more confidence than I used to after I just got out of that relationship. So now I'm able to like, I don't know, feel more comfortable in crowds and not have to just like stay to myself all the time.
And I'm sure as well as I do that that translates directly back into the business realm.
Yeah.
Because, body language and, the way that a man moves in a room tells you a lot about that individual.
Yeah.
And confidence is a lot of where that comes from. You can read in someone's body language whether they are confident in themselves or not. And confidence makes people more comfortable in certain situations. And I find that in a business sense, talking to the kinds of people that I want to be talking to, confidence is important.
Right.
Because I'm sitting, the conversations that I'm looking to go deep into and the genuine long-term connections that I'm looking to build are with other like-minded, young, ambitious men who are confident, who are doing these kinds of things. And if you sit across the table or walk into a room with one of them and you aren't radiating that level of confidence, or you kind of seem a little shaky or a little shady, it can be misinterpreted as a lot of different things too. That's when people get messed up. It's like, oh, I'm shy. Well, you might portray a certain thing, or you might have certain body language or certain social cues that you have that are because you're shy. Like that may be true, but it doesn't mean that it's not perceived as shady, criminal. There's a lot of different things that people can see in that. Like, I don't really trust that guy. Just literally, I just have an inclination. I don't trust this guy because he walks in a room and he's darting around the room with his eyes, and he's not walking up straight, and he's scared of making eye contact. And those things are so important for making that, a first impression goes a long way.
Yeah.
And to me, I have the same advice to people. It's like, number one, work out. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself physically, mentally, all of these different things. You're building up confidence. You're building up strength, as I think a man should. And when you're walking into a room full of people, if you're going to an event, whether it's a networking event, whether it's a family gathering, no matter what the event is or what the occasion is, walk in the room. And I see this time and time again from guys that are doing all the other right things. They're working out, they're doing all these things. They walk into a room and they're uncomfortable internally, and they go right into their pocket and they pull their phone out the second they walk in that room. And it's like, oh, do I have a text? Or like, oh, I'll pretend to take a call or something. I've seen it a million times, and I've been that guy. And man, it's just like, get in there, carry yourself in, walk slow, move slow, walk in the room. When you get inside, stand still and look around the room, not looking for a certain person that you might know so you can go link up. Look around the room. Don't be afraid of eye contact, and observe your surroundings, and then pick a spot that you want to go and walk in that direction. Be purposeful.
Yeah, because like, I mean, a year ago, like 2022, when I just moved into the shop that I am in, I was just scared to talk to customers about like money, and like when they would be like, oh yeah, can I get it for this much? I would fall a little, like I was just not as confident in myself as I should have been. And then fast forward like a few months in, I was like, yeah, that it's a whole, like getting into the gym actually changed a lot. Cause like after I got into the gym, I was a lot more confident with a lot of stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to be so much of a pushover anymore. And like, it's changed so much. Like now like when I go out or do anything and somebody starts talking to me, I'm like that. I'm always ready. So it's getting the gym, I think, has helped me a lot with all of that stuff.
It's funny to me you mentioned the girlfriend situation because time and time again, especially if you spend any time on like gym talk, like or like Instagram or whatever, is you see all these young guys who get obsessed with the gym or start working out because of a breakup. Mm-hmm. And it's like they find that inner animal or whatever they say, like, oh, I'm like connected to my demons now. Okay, all right, buddy. But you know, it's funny to me that a lot of guys will wait until a moment like that in their life to start working out. Like they're almost like, I have to have all of my confidence ripped out from under me for me to kind of pursue that. But the problem isn't that they're doing that. The problem is the reason that they're doing that is because they built up themselves. They built up themselves as a young man with all of their confidence foundationally built into the relationship that they had. Yeah. You know, you find, and I was like this in my younger years. You know, it was, my mission was get the pretty girl so that I was in the relationship with her and everyone's like, oh, like your girlfriend's attractive. Like, oh, like, dude, like you must have it going on. Or like, this guy must be like a cool guy, like all these different things. And you get so much that in your relationship. But, you know, you need to be, you know, I would urge any young man that's like in a relationship that maybe they feel like and you might have to sit and think about it for a little bit. Maybe you've gotten complacent with your physicality, with your nutrition, with keeping yourself mentally sharp, with work. And you need to make sure you're keeping yourself sharp, not in preparation for them to leave you, but so that, honestly, it's so that you can be the best version of yourself for that person, not for the rest of the world or for the other women that you would want to attract when she leaves you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like, so I used to work out. Like when I started college, I used to be in the gym a lot. And then, like I got into that relationship, I got really comfortable. Like I got really comfortable, and I'd work out every once in a while, and it was more of like I was spending a lot of time with work and school and everything. It's not like I didn't have time. It's more like I didn't want to make time for it, because like I feel like you always have time for the gym. You just got to make time for it, and I just let everything else. And on the times that I could have done it, I was just lazy, doing nothing. But I was still playing soccer, and so I guess I used to use that as like a scapegoat. Like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to hit the gym.
Yeah. So. When in reality, you're probably out there burning muscle off, like working out. It's just a totally different workout style. What do you think the importance is? So you still play sports, you still, you know, take part in endurance, agility related activities. Like how important do you think it is when training in the gym with weights to also be incorporating that more fast-paced, more active lifestyle or more sports-related fitness?
I think it's important because, like, the thing is, like, you can putting on muscle and, like, I mean, essentially, a lot of guys are in the gym to get bigger. It's nice, but you also still want to be flexible. So, like, you put on too much muscle, man, you're not gonna be able to touch your back, like nothing. Like, it's you can barely put your hands over your head. You know what I mean? You put on too much muscle. So I'm like, that's where that comes in handy, where you're still burning calories, just keeping everything flowing. You know what I mean? So it's not just muscle. You still got that cardio. You're not gonna run out of breath walking down the street. You know what I mean? So I think that's where it's important to keep both of those, like, keep it together instead of just doing one.
Absolutely right. So we've talked about kind of the physicality side, and how that directly translates into business. Now, another aspect of life that I think a lot of individuals like ourselves should be working on, and probably are working on, is kind of sharpening the mind part of that. So what do you do to train your mind in life?
All right, so the internet plays a little bit of role in that, and also I try to read every now and then, which I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I think I got about 70% through the book, and I stopped reading it. Also have like two other books that I've been meaning to read, but like I haven't made time for it. And but I spend a lot of my time on YouTube doing a lot of research as far as marketing goes with Google SEO and just Google Ads, running Google Ads to make them more effective. Because like essentially that's where majority of my business comes from. Because like if you're not on Google, because I learned the hard way in February, my Google Ads account got suspended, and I was still getting leads, but not compared to what it was when my Google Ads account was up and running, and I was able to reach more people. And then as soon as the end of February, I was able to just create a new ads account, transferred my Google my listing page to another email. I was able to run ads through that, and like literally the first weekend, I was able to make like $2,000 from like 2 days, and I'm like, yo, see, this is such a huge difference compared to like before that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm never letting that happen again.
I remember you texting me. You were like, hey, man, how do I get this fixed? I was like, man, I really do wish I could help you, but it sounds like you got a mess on your hands. What was the reasoning again for it getting?
So I tried to run an ad. It was like a ad on YouTube, and it was. I set the thing to only take off $500 a month. It took $500 a day, so I ended up spending $2,000 on ads in the space of 48 hours actually.
Oh, you backcharged it, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was like, yo, you guys did something wrong, but in reality, I might have put it in the wrong place. And I still, till this day, I still haven't gotten that $2,000 back, but I figured it out. I'm just gonna pay it and let it be, because like I really don't want to mess with my stuff again.
You don't want to mess with your stuff, and not to mention, like, at the end of the day, you don't want to mess with Google.
Yeah, they'll screw you.
Yeah, they will.
They'll screw you.
People think they have their social media accounts and they have their Google listing and they have this, they have that. It's like, you do not. Play by their rules. And if you, like for me, a lot of my content, I would say, is a little on the controversial side at times. Some of my more, I would say my content that's more towards, attracting those young, ambitious men. I'm out there one day shooting guns, I'm smoking cigars, I'm going on a rant about the government or whatever it is. I'm saying all this stuff, and sure, like that could be seen as like not playing by the rules, but the thing is, it's like, it's not what you say necessarily, it's how you say it. It's like you can frame it up in a way that can be accepted by their guidelines.
And then they don't recognize. So.
Even like on YouTube, I've seen certain guys. There's just one guy I've followed for a long time now who, he wants to shed light on some of the stuff that's going on right now. And he's just like, he's basically creating YouTube videos where there's like, it'll be a 20-minute video, but the 5 minutes on the interior of the video in the middle is when he'll like sprinkle in his points, and YouTube doesn't really pick up on it. I hope I'm not ratting on him right now.
Hey, don't call names.
Yeah, no names. But as far as social media is concerned, you're fairly active on the Shade Pro tinting business profiles. What led you to do that? When did you start kind of posting online about what it was that you were doing, and what was kind of the reason behind it?
So when I originally started out, I started out in my garage at my house. Not even a garage. It was more of like a pop-up portable tent. And I used to like record like little time lapse and stuff like that then, and I'll just throw them on there on Facebook every now and then. And then so about a year ago or so, I started just posting pictures a lot. And then this year, January, I went to Tinter Battles in Florida. And then when I went to Florida, they had like a seminar with all sorts of stuff, and they're like at Instagram Reels and TikTok. And they're like a huge part of the industry. So I started recording more stuff and be more consistent with it. And now I found I think it's called CapCut.
Yep.
CapCut. It has like pre-made templates, and all you gotta do is throw the videos in, and it spits it out.
Yep.
But before that, I was actually using Instagram to edit all my videos, and I'm like, it's so much work because you gotta cut and hit it to each beat. But like, what got me into like really doing that was just because of that seminar, and they're like, yeah, you gotta, in order to reach and get to kind of like bring more awareness to yourself, you gotta like keep active on social media, and like your customer loves that. Because so on my my lead form, so whenever you fill out a lead form and hit submit, it sends you directly to my Facebook. And when you go to my Facebook, all you see is a whole bunch of videos from a week of videos, probably like 7 videos. And then my customers, especially when I post the ceramic videos, I had a customer come and was like, I solely came here because I loved what you did on the internet. You're like, you talking about what ceramic actually does for your car. And so he's like, yo, I love that. And he came in, he was like, I don't care how much it costs, I want that on my vehicle. So we ended up getting it done for him. He was super happy too as well. So that's kind of how I kind of started that, and I realized it's paying off because like it's not essentially reaching a lot of customers per se, but like when customers do see it, it makes them want to spend their money with me to actually get what they're actually seeing done, and they get a lot of behind the scenes. So it's not just before and after. It's more of before, during, and after, and actually how the process is done. So
it's building trust.
Yeah,
it's like people do business with people that they like, know, and trust. And you're showcasing. One thing I think that you could do even more of would be showcasing yourself.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, man, there's a lot of people, especially in the older generations, that look at our generation coming up, and they see guys that are doing it pretty different from the rest of their generation, and there is some serious respect, I think, that is shown for young, ambitious men that are just willing to put in the work and willing to eat shit.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be really cool to showcase a little more of like the story behind it too, man. Like just you at your age doing what you're doing. It's not something everybody would necessarily expect. And it's the same with myself. It's like going to networking events and meeting people. A lot of the questions I'll get asked when I'm like introducing myself to somebody is like, oh, like who do you work for? Who are you working with? Like, oh, so I have a habit, and it's something I kind of just decided I wanted to do for myself. I think I actually learned it when I was in the dating game. So for me, whenever I was on a first interaction or something with a female I had met, and she would ask what I'd do for work, I work in marketing. That's all I say. I draw no value from you valuing me from a perception of I own a business or I do this or I do that. To me, like, if it plays out, you'll find out.
Yeah.
And so I do the same thing in networking situations, though, and a lot of times I get those questions, and I'll just say, oh, I work with Blades Marketing. And it's really funny when it comes around, and it's like, next thing you know, that one of my other acquaintances or networking partners or one of my friends comes up to me at the event, and they're like, oh, Colden, what's going on? And eventually, sometimes my last name comes out into play, and they're like, Blades Marketing, Colden Blades, and they make the connection. And they're like, oh, like, it's your company. Yeah. Like, oh, why didn't you say something? I didn't need to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my friends they're always the ones that call me out. So we're in a group. Hunter does this a lot. So we're in a group and we're talking to girls or something. And it's like, oh yeah, this one runs its own business. I'm like, come on, man, come on.
It ruins it too. I mean, sometimes it does.
Yeah,
I'm sure sometimes it plays in your favor.
It plays in the favor, but like most of the time I'm like, yeah, just no. I'd rather not like have everybody know, because like a lot of people like, oh yeah, we're gonna get a discount. You know what I mean? Because we know you. I'm like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
like,
no. And a lot of times too, people see and hear about like business owners, or they see the social media videos or the pictures, and listen, like owning a business and like the perception of owning a business from people that don't, and actually owning a business are completely just different things. Like it's glorified, it's over glorified, in not that it's not what people should be doing, or not that it's not really cool, or better than the alternative, in my opinion, for certain guys. But it's like it's not always the greatest. Like a lot of times I'm just starting out, I'm just getting started. I'm not going to, and then somebody's like, oh, my boy over here he's got his own business. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm just getting started. It's like showing up for your first day at the gym, going out for like smoothies or something with a buddy of yours. There's a group in there and your buddy's like, oh, my boy here goes to the gym. It's like, dude, I just got my first rep in. Like, you got to give me some time.
Like a thing too with business owners, like this week you make like 10 grand. Next week you make like $50. Like it's not something you're gonna consistently make money out off every week, every day, unless you're Walmart. You know what I mean? So
right.
But a lot of people, they just look at it as like, you own a business? Oh yeah, he's got money. Yeah, but like, I mean, yeah, you might, but it's not. It's very hard work. I mean, money that you have to literally stick to your guts and keep doing the same thing to actually keep getting more money. Because like, especially with tint, and I don't get a lot of returning customers. I get returning customers, but not like, say like a detailer. They have like a customer they see every week, every 2 weeks or something like that. With tint, it's like you tint their car once, you won't see them for another few months, maybe. I mean, another few years. Like
odds are, if you're doing the quality work that I know you're doing, like you're just, it's a good thing they're not showing up next month.
Exactly. Like I have customers that'll say they do stuff with cars, and I'll see them a lot. Like I have a guy, he does a transportation business, and I see him like once every 4 weeks. Like he brings me a new car. I'm like, all right, get that one done. He's now like a really good friend of mine. Like the thing is, like, especially like with our line of business, so a lot of the times you're more likely to make friends with your customers than with like anybody else, and it's kind of cool. And like those people, like they're very loyal, and they'll like support you 100%, which is amazing compared to like some of your friends that you've known for years, and then they're like, oh yeah, I know him. He's not gonna charge me anything. Like it's gonna be free. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's really nice to just like meet like a lot of friends through business and stuff like that. So
it's really a beautiful thing too, to me, when they become your client before they become your friend.
Yeah,
because then they're your friend because they truly respect you. When a friend becomes a client, it's always, and this just might be my own thought process that definitely is not always right, but a lot of times I'm like, all right, my friend comes to me to do business with me, like they're just picking me because I'm their friend. Like a client, they picked me not knowing who I was, gave me, and let me prove myself to them, and then I proved myself to them in business, and then we became friends out of respect. Yeah. When you build friendships, when you build relationships that are predicated upon respect, upon loyalty, that's where the longest term and I think the most beneficial relationships in life come from.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your friend group in a personal life, in your personal life?
So I'd say my friend group in personal, they're all kind of driven just like me, as far as, so a lot of them are in real estate actually. Declan runs his own rental company, rental property, or property management company. Remy, he's a real estater, or real estate.
That's good. Remy's a real estater, huh?
Remy, he's a real estate agent. Dakota, he's a real estate agent, and he's also a tax accountant. Yeah, he does taxes.
So, like, watch his paint dry. Hey, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, so like, all of my friends, they're, I would say they're all either business owners or they're in the form of, they have jobs they can be very lucrative as far as money goes, and they're just very driven people to where they push themselves to not be complacent in an environment where they're not essentially appreciated, but in an environment where they have like room to grow. And yeah, so I'd say that's kind of like where all my friends are at with their careers, or my friend group essentially are.
You feel like there's a lot of mutual respect in your personal friend group?
Yeah, they're all like, we're all like little brothers. Like,
Got you.
Yeah.
Did you grow up with a lot of them?
Declan, Nick, and Sean. I'd say we all went to high school together. Not necessarily grew up together because like I moved to the U.S. when I was 12, so I met Declan when I was around 13, 14, and Nick as well, Hunter as well. Hunter's the nurse out of the friend group. He's a smart one, but I'm gonna give him so much crap for that one. I'm gonna make sure that part hits it.
We'll keep that in.
Yeah, but Hunter is a nurse, and Nick, he's the one who's still figuring out his situation. He's 24 as well too. He's like my little brother.
Yeah.
He's like my closest brother in the group. But shoot, I forgot my train of thought. Oh man, crap.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I'm like, where am I at?
So Nick's like your little brother.
Yeah, Nick's like my little brother. So him, like, he went to college for journalism, and he's also a little bit into the marketing stuff, but also he's very artsy. So he likes to take pictures. I don't think he's very, very big into the editing video format of stuff, but I've always asked him, like, dude, if you want to, like, do something in your free time, like, just come to the shop. We can figure something out. But he's like, he's going through stuff. So yeah. I kind of just leave it to where it's at. He's a really good guy. Whenever stuff's like 100%, he's very driven to the point where he wants to get stuff done too as well. So smart. He's a very smart guy.
He's just got to find that purpose again. And I'm sure, if you just keep looking, keep pushing forward, keep driving on, like, you'll find it. It's just, sometimes you got to open yourself up to, that's a hard time, in periods of your life, tough periods of your life, you kind of retreat into yourself when in those spans of your life, sometimes the best thing to do is like to open yourself up to other opportunities. Mm-hmm. Because when we retreat into ourselves, we retreat on all fronts, or we tend to in tough situations. I know I do. And to me, it's still okay, and I'm just always going to do this in my life. I will always retreat inward emotionally. Like I'm not one of those, let me tell you my problems, like whatever kind of guys. But the key is I've found to retreat emotionally and then to leave kind of the logical side open, where it's like, okay, I'm going to be antisocial personally, but I'm going to go out and be super social on the business front. I'm going to go push sales like I've never pushed before. I'm going to experience new things more than I ever have before. Just go do stuff on your own if you have to. Because if you're retreating emotionally, a lot of times, you cut certain people out. You're kind of like, I want to be on my own. But just go do stuff on your own. Yeah. You want to go out to a nice place to eat, go out to eat on your own. Like you want to go experiment with video, photo. You've had a knack for doing something, or just a passion for lifting weights, doing this, doing that. Just go do it alone.
Yeah, because I grew up, I feel like a lot of people, they rely on essentially having somebody who somebody there all the time. With me, I'm completely different. Like, I like to figure out stuff on my own. If stuff's not going great, like, I'd rather just be on my own till I figure it out. Like, my parents always be like, "You were born alone." Like, that's just how I feel. Like, I mean, so I kind of deal with everything on my own, and like, I have a great support system as far as family goes, but they don't know half the stuff like that goes on because I deal with it on my own. So not everybody's like that. Some people require having somebody else to actually help them get through stuff.
I really resonate with that on a personal level as well. I deal with my shit on my own too. And it's always been almost ironic to me that it's guys like us that are the ones that are always looking to be the guy for other guys to come to. Yeah. Like, because there's a lot of people that do need somebody. And like, I try and tell people, I might not be the guy that'll ever come to any of you guys, but just know that is by no means in context to when you're in a situation. Like, I do what's best for me. So like, don't ever hesitate to come to me with your problems. Mm-hmm. In fact, a lot of times I'd rather deal with other people's problems than have to sit there with my own. It's almost easier. So, yeah. Because working through your own, you can get, I know for me, like, I get in a very difficult headspace of like me talking to myself about myself. It's like you're going back and forth on something and you're just bickering and fighting with yourself. But, sometimes that's just the only way I find to get it done. It's like a lot of times just figure it out. Like, all right, I lost 3 clients today. I'm making 20% of what I was making yesterday, and I got to figure this out before the end of the month. Yeah. Like, this is me against me. So, like I said, just continue to focus on the business. Continue to keep going to the gym in the morning. Keep eating healthy. Like, keep the physicality and nutrition and your sleep. Like, keep your health and fitness at like the foundation of it all. Because if that stuff goes, you're gonna lose all the rest of it.
Yeah. Because like like I said, I like to do everything on my own. Like, ESPN is always oh god. So like a lot like my friends, I feel like they're all kind of the same. Like, I don't ever know what's going on in their life. Like Nick, I can just tell just by like the way he talks or just the way he is. Like he'll come out and still be in a social situation, but you can tell because he's not like, his appearance is different. It's not like something like he tells you, but you could just tell by the way like he carries himself now compared to what he was before. Because like, I've known this guy for like 10 years. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, that makes.
What do you see as the next play for you? Are you looking to just continue to scale the tinting business, or are there other avenues you're looking to go down? Like, what's kind of the chapter that you're in, and what do you see as being potentially the next chapter for you?
Essentially, I'd want to have, I say ideally having 3 shops would be ideal. I mean, franchising sounds great, but I don't think I want to have my name on too many shops, because like, quality control at that point, you do all of that stuff. I mean, even with 3, you're still stretching it, because you're not gonna be able to be at all 3 of them at once. So, and like I have like the standard where I'm very particular with, especially when it comes to cars. Dude, my car, I absolutely keep it in pristine. Like I have paint protection on it. Like, every time if I see a little scratch on it that I can't buff out, I paint the car. Like, it's bad OCD when it comes to that. So like, I'm kind of the same way when it comes to tinting. I'm like, I see a little thing in there, I'm ripping it off and I'm doing it again. But as far as like my goal with everything, I do want to keep scaling the shop, learning how to effectively market that shop, and essentially at least 1 or 2 more shops. It's all, and everything I'm doing, I kind of want it. I'm doing it for my family. So essentially, I want my dad to have, my mom to have something to do with the business, to where they essentially don't have to. They can be their own boss. I mean, being their own boss is not easy, but I think if I set up to the point where it's like dummy proof for them, they'll be able to handle it. You know what I mean?
What are you trying to say?
Oh man.
Oh, I hear that, and that's how I know that you won't fail, because for you failure is not an option because you're not doing it for you. Like, yeah, I ask a lot of people on this podcast and just in my day-to-day life, like, why are you in business? What are you trying to do? And the worst is the ones that lie. The worst is the one that says, oh, like, I'm doing this so I can retire my mom. And then when he makes it, like, his mom's still up in the same flat and he's wearing fancy suits and driving a Lamborghini. So it shows you where his priorities were at the whole time. Or he gets the new watch before she gets her mortgage paid for.
See, all that stuff doesn't matter to me at all. Yeah. Like, I would never want to own, like, a Lambo. Like, I see, like, having a house, I love my current car. I will not pay more than $40,000 for a car. That's where I draw the line. I mean, my current car is a little bit less than that, but, like, I would not. It's
a depreciating asset.
Exactly.
And it's like it's all for show. If you obviously don't get, for you, it appears to be maybe a different case. Like, you obviously have a passion for cars.
Yeah,
Like, a lot of these guys that are driving, the Lamborghinis in Miami, they're driving the McLarens, the this, the that, the other thing. Like, I think about, like, the guys that drove, like, the old Corvettes, man. Like, those new Corvettes are sick.
Yeah.
But, man, like, a lot of, like, the old, like, middle-of-the-road Corvettes, like, we always called them the broke man sports car.
Yeah.
And, so many of them were, like, buying those for, like, that image, that ego that comes with it. A lot of people buy. One thing that's going to be probably tricky for me to explain to people, but I could probably go far enough back in, like, my camera roll from when I was a kid to actually justify it. But one passion I always had from a young age was in watches. Like, I was always just such a watch nerd. I mean, like, to an extent, I always had a watch as a kid, man. All from as far back as I can go, man. Like, from my little, like, Mickey Mouse Disney watch to then all of a sudden, like, learning what real watches were, and then just having, like, whatever I could at the time. And finally, I had a decent watch at one point, and it was, whatever, cheapo, whatever. And finally, I told myself my dream has always been to be able to collect watches and to actually just collect them for me, So I think when I buy that first watch, there's obviously a perception that comes with just these kinds of things. But if you're buying it, like, with you in your car, if you're buying things because you truly enjoy them, then by all means, like, do what you want to do. Just like I was going back to what I was saying, though, it's like the worst is lying about what your purpose is behind doing what you're doing in business. The second is, like, doing it all for yourself, because you're going to lose motivation. If you're only doing it for yourself, when the road gets tough, when the road gets nasty, and it will, like, it will.
It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows.
No,
sure.
I promise you that. It's going to suck. During those times, if all that your incentive is to keep pushing forward is your own selfish intent, you're probably not going to make it. Yeah. The guys that you see that succeed long-term, that are willing to go to any lengths to succeed, that eat more failures than anybody else, are the guys that are doing it for other people. The guy whose purpose it is to, in a traditional sense, you think about the traditional family unit, it was the man, like, would do whatever he had to do to put food on the table, make sure the bills were paid, and his kids got to live a good life, and his wife was able to be a mother, like, all these different things. But, that having that purpose, like, for you, you're saying that's how I know you're going to win.
So the thing is, I have the opportunity right now to, I have the land space and everything back home in Jamaica to actually to actually open or open a shop down there. And my goal for that, and I was actually talking to my mom about it yesterday, and I'm like, I want to open a shop strictly for the community. I want no profit out of it. It's all for kids back home, because like there's a lot of kids that they go to school and do all this stuff back home, and they don't have any kind of trade or anything. Like, I feel like having a trade in this like anything a computer can do, it's kind of like a hard thing to how do you say it? It's like a hard thing to keep consistent, if it's like, because they got like AI technology and all that stuff now, and it kind of sucks. So I want to kind of like use tinting and kind of like give it back. Just go down for like a month or so, and just have like a training, and be able to open up a shop in the community for like all these kids who don't essentially have anything else to do after school, for something they can do to provide for their own families. And that's all just going to be nothing with profit. It's just for the community.
Love that.
They like, I teach them the in and outs. Essentially I would hope to have the same film manufacturer that I use here, to be able to ship down to them, so they can have all that stuff they need to actually tint cars. Because like back home, the market might not be great, but there's a lot of room for improvement in the form of actually how to apply tint. Because I'm telling you, I went down the other day, man, and I'm looking at these tint jobs. I'm like, yo, these things are horrible. These things would not live in the U.S.
If people are willing to settle for it.
People are willing to settle for it. I'm like, all right, I can do good here by actually properly training some kids or somebody to do a better job at this, so they can actually provide for their own family and help out the community in some way.
So when you reach the point of, let's say you've achieved everything that you just said that you want to set out to achieve. You've got the 3 shops. Mm-hmm. Maybe your parents are running 2 of them. Things are going well. You've got a team in place. You've got all operations are running the way that you would like them to be running. You're making a comfortable income. What goes beyond that for you? What would be next? Or would you say that at that point you would be content?
At that point, I feel like I would be a little content, but not comfortable. I'm like kind of person where I feel like I'm always gonna want more out of a situation, as far as when it comes to work and providing for my own family. Because like, yes, I'll have a shop, and I'm making decent money from it, and I also have a family. But also, I want to still set up that family, my own little family, to have something once I'm not here anymore, because I'm not gonna live forever. Mm-hmm. So I want to have that would probably be the next goal I have after I have those 3 set up in place. So like, I would have my current family, set up, and then I'll be working on getting my other family in where I want them to be, or my own family set up to take on everything after I'm not here.
That's very cool, man. So if you had a word of advice for other young individuals that are either looking to get in business or are just getting started, what would some words of advice be that you would have for them?
I say figuring out what you're good at figure out if being an entrepreneur is what you want to do, because it's not easy.
Amen.
It's not easy. It's gonna ruin a lot of relationships, as far as, because you're gonna be spending a lot of time actually doing the groundwork to get that business up and running. If you do decide you want to go in there, the main thing you're gonna have to work on is quality. Quality beats quantity, in my opinion. You learn how to do it correctly, or not at all. You don't want to go out there and put out half-ass work and have your customers complaining, and you pretty much ruin your whole business before you even start. So don't, like, say, essentially for tinting, don't go ahead and practice on somebody's car, like a customer's car, and charge them top dollar. You don't do that. And if you're gonna practice, like actually take the training courses. Like not everyone's gonna be as lucky as I was. Like I learned 100% through YouTube, and I had all the cars at the house to practice on. And it wasn't until I got comfortable on those cars, I actually went out and was like, yo, I'm gonna do this for profit. You know what I mean? So had multiple jobs while I was doing that, and when I got busy to the point where I was making more money tinting than I was actually doing my regular job on the weekend, or my regular jobs during the week. Like on the weekends, I'd make probably like $1,000 doing 3 cars or so, and I'm like, yo, that's way more than my paycheck is for like 2 weeks. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go full time into it, and that's how like I kind of got started. So I say figuring out what you want to do, and make sure you can do it well before you actually go into it.
Gotcha, man. Javon, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. You want to go ahead and plug in some of your social information. Where can people check you out? And give them some details on the business for if they're in the Myrtle Beach area looking to get their car tinted.
You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and what's the other one? Facebook at Shade Pro Tint. Shade Pro Window Tinting. We specialize in window tinting, paint protection film, and ceramic coatings. And also now chrome deletes.
Cool.
So if you want to find us, Shade Pro Tint, at Shade Pro Tint on all platforms.
Beautiful. Javon, once again, I appreciate you coming on.